Yeah.
Okay. I'm excited about our panel. We have all three of our representatives from the three major banks with the community benefits agreement. We have, of course, Amanda Petrick from KeyBank. We have our Stacy Glenn Short from Huntington and Royce Sutton from Fifth Third. All three of them are here. They have been here last year also, as they brought us information about how the bank was doing and what the bank was doing. And so we are pleased to have you return with what we hope is good news. We're going to start off, and I want to make sure that I thank Frank Ford for his report on the data information. And if anyone would like to address any of that information that was shared by Frank, this would be a good time to do that on our panel. And I'm going to start the panel by asking you to say who you are and your title and what your area of responsibility is. Let's start with Amanda.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be with you today. My name is Amanda Petrak. I have been with KeyBank for 5 years now, mostly in community engagement roles, but most recently as the corporate responsibility officer. I've been in that role for 3 months now, but most of my background is in communications. I was the media relations director for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm a proud Cleveland native, and I currently reside in Old Brooklyn.
Thank you. And now we'll go straight to you, Stacy, from Huntington Bank, your title and your area of responsibility.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having Huntington here at the table today. My name is Stacy Glenn Short. I am the Community Development Program Director for Huntington Bank and have been at Huntington in that capacity for 22 years. My roles and responsibilities are helping the bank develop programs and products that meet community needs. And that's basically my focus.
Well, thank you very much, Stacy. And of course, Royce from Fifth Third Bank, Mr. Royce Sutton, if you'll follow with the same response as far as your title and responsibility at Fifth Third, area of responsibility.
Well, thank you, Barbara, and good morning to everyone who has joined the call this morning on this very important area. This is the third year, actually, that I've had an opportunity to present at this conference in speaking about the Fifth Third Bank Community Benefits Agreement. I am the Senior Vice President and Community Economic Development Market Manager for the state of Ohio for Fifth Third Bank. In my time here at Fifth Third Bank, I've been at Fifth Third Bank over 20 years in 3 different markets and several different roles, primarily in the community engagement area. I worked on our strategies team, which is our corporate team, working on products that specifically focus on financial empowerment strategies throughout the marketplace. I now I've been over the last 2 years working throughout the state of Ohio on our initiatives related to affordable housing, small business, and how we partner and engage with nonprofits and community leaders and strategy makers throughout the marketplace. And the direct person who's in the greater Cleveland area is Pat Ramsey. She serves the greater Cleveland area, and I've got the entire state itself. So in my capacity, the idea is, how we can learn as much as we can about how we can reinvest, but more importantly, how we can build communities.
Well, thank you. Thank each and every one of you for that information. Now we are going to go into the information that you would like to share with the community, with the general public. Let us know what it is that each one of your banks have done, both your successes, some of your challenges, how we can help or what our involvement would be, and what you see as next steps. And because it's such an easy question, we're going to start with you, Royce Sutton. And yeah, we're not going to always go in the same order. So we're going to start with you. And if you'll start our conversation.
Okay, great. I'm glad to have the opportunity to really share it with this group. And obviously we've got a limited amount of time. I know there's going to be some other questions that are posed, but would like to share information. And I know as we think about, how we think about this idea of the impact, the results that we've produced, the way in which we structure our information may be a little bit different than how Frank structures his information. So our region is a little bit wider than the net that he shares, but I'm going to share that information anyway. So we did make our CBA, our Community Benefits Agreement, or what we refer to as our community commitment in 2016. And that commitment comes to a close at the end of this year. Now, that does not mean that we are not still going to be committed to the community, because obviously we are. But when we started out the commitment, it was a $27 billion commitment. We raised that commitment to 30 billion. And then approximately 20 months ago, we increased our community commitment to $32 billion. So Frank, if you can just make note of that in your notes so that you can make sure that we actually place a heavier bar or higher bar for ourselves on our community commitment. Yeah,
I'll actually do that, so the one that's posted will have that correction.
Okay. Yeah. So most people don't want to come with a higher level, but we're happy to report that. So
sure.
Just happy to report. And I know we don't want to just focus exclusively on how we're doing corporate wide, and want to focus on our market there in Greater Cleveland. But overall, through the end of September, I'm happy to report that on our $32 billion commitment that we have invested and loaned more than $38.3 billion. So this is $6.3 billion ahead of our plan. And we still have, and that's with 3 months to go in 2020. So we're really appreciative of the collaboration and the partnerships that has helped to make that possible. As a part of that commitment, 12.9 million is in down payment assistance that's helped over 4,100 borrowers become first-time homeowners. More than 450,000 students are taught through our Finance Academy program. And we launched 4 community of color programs in our Chicago, Detroit, and Cincinnati markets, and have developed a $100 million Opportunity Zone Bank Fund to improve and revitalize communities. So more specific to the Cleveland market, from that $38.3 billion mark that we went, 2.2 billion of that is in our Cleveland market, and 831.6 million is for mortgage lending. 831.6 million is for mortgage lending, 699.1 million to small business lending, 688.5 million to community development lending, 2 million to philanthropic donations, and well over 1,200 hours in community service. So when we think about our community benefits agreement, it was specifically rooted in the idea of how can we lend and invest back in our communities. And when we think about how we do that, that comes as a result of partnerships with organizations like Ohio Guidestone, CHN Housing Partners, the Spanish American Committee, Vocational Guidance Center, the Mayor's Transformation Initiative, are all examples of initiatives or programs where we have specifically targeted around the idea of how we can create and leverage additional resources in partnership in neighborhoods like the Buckeye neighborhood and the Shaker neighborhoods through the Mayor's Transformation Initiative, and supporting potential developers who are rehabbing in those specific neighborhoods. Now, many of you are very familiar. Some may not be as familiar with our e-bus, and that's the 40-foot vehicle that we take to neighborhoods specifically to improve financial empowerment strategies. Ohio Guidestone, CMHA, the Urban League, Greater Collinwood are all examples of partners that we've used to reach out with this idea that you can be a homeowner, that you can repair credit, that you can become a small business owner, that you can move beyond debt with bankers sitting down one-on-one with families and clients to help work them through this idea of achieving their financial goals. The other parts of it too, and from an investment side, just want to share that there is a couple of projects I really wanted to spotlight, and that was the Flamingos Foundation project, where we invested $322,000 in a 72 unit at the Notre Dame apartments, where the total investment actually was $5 million on that project. And then the Carver Park project, which was a total investment of $21 million. In 2020, we've invested $59,000 in that, with the renovation of 74 units of 1, 2, and 3 townhome units. We specifically target our staff members as a part of that project to serve on the Family Sufficiency Committee, the Audit Committee, and the list of other projects are pretty long. I don't know how much time I may have here, and I don't want to take up all the time that I've got, but I did want to just spotlight those things. Now, I did want to also touch upon the idea of some of the things that we've learned. Obviously, we're going through, all of us are experiencing some very difficult times when we think about COVID and the impact that it has had up on communities, whether we're talking about small businesses, whether we're talking about those who are dealing with rent issues, foreclosure. All those are issues that are very top of mind for us right now. So specifically listening to and working with organizations and community leaders around these issues have been a greater part of our focus here in 2020. We've invested right at $125,000 in the market, specifically for COVID relief dollars that were over and above our dollars that we already had spotlighted for, had targeted for the market. So when we think about this idea of what it means to really hear and listen, that's really what created the Fifth Third Bank Community Benefits Agreement, having listening sessions all throughout our entire footprint, and then creating ideas and initiatives that specifically would address those needs on the small business side, on the affordable housing side, looking at areas on financial stability for families, or how we've created our community benefits agreement, and then the success that we've had through that. Now, we've also had some challenges as well, and I think Frank has spotlighted some of those in the numbers. We still are looking for ways of how we can increase the numbers on low to moderate income lending. We specifically have lenders who are targeted for the market, but the idea of still trying to increase that lending is it's something that we still want to be able to make progress in that regard. I'll just kind of at this point in time just take a pause, as I know there's others that are going to be presenting their remarks as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that detailed report. And so we are next going to go to Stacy. We'll take our little trip over to Huntington Bank and find out what's going on over there, Stacy.
Good morning, everyone. You'll have to pardon me. I have a bit of a gruff voice this morning, so I'm going to try to get through this without hurting your ears. Huntington, of course, we committed, as Frank said, to our community benefits agreement in 2017. It was a $16.1 billion commitment. As of December, we had reached about $15.5 billion. And we're realizing that we were going to end up closing in very quickly on our $16.1 billion commitment before the end of the term. So what I'm showing here is our June numbers. As of June, we had reached $17 billion, and we started reaching out to the community to host community meetings to discuss unmet needs still that we hadn't met through our community plan. And then also unmet needs based on what's happened with COVID. What were some of the things that have occurred that aren't going to be addressed by the programs and products that the federal government had put in place, or state and local governments had put in place, that possibly we could step in to do. The one thing I will note about our numbers as of June 30th is that they did not include our PPP numbers. We ended up having more than 38,000 loans closed under PPP and reached well over, millions of dollars. And I didn't feel it was appropriate to include it, since it was something outside of the normal realm of what we were doing. So those numbers aren't included here. So we ended up closing out June 30th at $17 billion. And as I said, we started hosting community meetings throughout our footprint. And then we decided we were going to make a new commitment. So on September 1st of 2020, we ended our original commitment and we started a new commitment, increasing our 5-year commitment to $20 billion. And this slide just shows, where we did our increases. So our final commitment ended up being $7.5 billion to consumer and home lending. Very specifically, our commitments are based on publicly available data. So you are able to go and pull up the home dollars or pull up any of the information for small business, small farm filings, and you can monitor our progress as well. So that means that all of these programs are limited to loans that are to low to moderate income borrowers, small businesses with gross annual revenues of $1 million or less, and then either of those home lending or business customers being in low to moderate income census tracts. And then when it comes to our community development lending and investing, we committed $4.8 billion to business banking, $7.6 billion, and then philanthropic giving and other support of $80 million total. To get into some of the details about the commitment, one of the things that we're doing differently with this commitment is we're putting a very strategic focus on disenfranchised populations and markets. So our focus is going to be on minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses as we move forward. And that will include increasing our outreach to organizations predominantly serving minority, women, and veteran-owned populations. That's, not only was that resoundingly heard through our community communications we had in crafting this new commitment, it is obviously an area of focus based on Frank's numbers that he shared with us today. On the consumer and home lending side, we're going to continue to focus on aging housing stock and trying to decrease that appraisal gap. So there's many programs and products that we've developed that are, I'll say for lack of a better term, pilots in a way to figure out what's the secret sauce to closing that appraisal gap. So I'll talk about a few of those in a minute or two. On community development lending, we're going to hone in on some of our focus there. When it comes to lending and investing, we'll continue to work with CDFIs, continue to do LIHTC and SBICs, and invest in loan funds. But the one thing that we heard as part of the pandemic and some of the needs that weren't met was food security. So we're going to put an emphasis on food security and not only just providing food through food banks or other resources, but ensuring that there are ways for us to reach people with food in other manners. So a lot of innovative ideas have come about as part of the pandemic. And so we're going to be taking a look at expanding some of those innovative ideas that have come about. And then again, financial empowerment, that's always key. I don't feel that any of us can learn enough and be financially empowered enough. So we're going to continue to focus on financial education, but we have continued our financial education virtually. Like many of us are meeting today and have been meeting with others, we've had to change how we deliver financial education. So part of that piece has been helping our nonprofits as well as deliver virtually, as well as all of us turning into a virtual development and delivery environment. The other thing that also came out in our community discussions was the continued need for workforce development. And this became, again, another highlighted need with the pandemic. So as people could not work in person and jobs required some people to work in person and some people could work virtually, we felt that it was important to continue to seek new ways to develop the workforce, whether it's providing a second career or providing basic workforce development for virtual environments, or the small businesses that were able to actually continue to work in person. We felt continuing to support workforce development would be key in the coming months to recovery. We also made additional commitments for supplier diversity and colleague diversity. We committed to maintaining at least 2 times the industry average of supplier diversity, which currently is 9.8%. So we've committed to maintaining at least 19.6% supplier diversity in our spend. And then also colleague diversity, we are striving to reach 50% either through gender or racially or ethnically diverse colleagues. And this is at the middle and executive management levels. And then of course, other commitments that we have under consideration, they're ideas that came up as part of the community conversations. And one of the major ones that we found is unique given the pandemic is partnering with local healthcare organizations and just making certain that we're able to address social determinants of health in a partnership manner and combined working together. Some of the programs and products that we've launched based on the community conversations we had between March and September when we launched. We, on September 14th, announced that Huntington was going to include 24-hour grace for businesses now. So I think most of you are aware that we've had 24-hour grace for many years, which means there's you're given 24 hours before we charge an overdraft fee. And we did not have that for all of our deposit accounts. It was for consumer only. But we heard resoundingly that any form of cash flow assistance for small businesses would be important. So we extended that 24-hour grace to our business customers. At the same time, we also launched a no overdraft fee $50 safety zone for consumers and businesses. So what that means is if you overdraft your account up to $50, there will be no charge or overdraft fee. And if you do go to $51, 24-hour grace will kick in. And so then you'll have 24 hours to bring that overdraft amount down below 50 or to bring your account to a positive balance. Both of those things we felt would help our consumers and our business customers to help with any short-term cash flow needs. Excuse me. So then on October 20th, we launched our own microloan portfolio program. So this again is dedicated specifically to diverse women and veteran-owned businesses. And it also includes businesses that choose to operate in low to moderate income census tracts and majority minority census tracts. And it is for new and existing businesses. And so I don't miss anything. I thought I would share some of the features. So the loan amounts go down to $1,000. And this is a Huntington program. It's not a fund we're funding. And we went this route just because we feel that even though there's many organizations that have loan funds, there's not a loan fund serving every one of the counties in our footprint. And so we felt it was important for us to step up given some of the gaps we were hearing about and some of the issues that small businesses were working through as they worked through COVID. So again, the loan amounts range from $1,000 to $150,000. The interest rate is market rate, so it's prime plus 2%. Huntington is paying all the SBA fees and the Huntington origination fees. The lower credit score requirement means that someone who has an SBSS score, which is equivalent to a FICO score when you're a business of 140, which equates to a 580 consumer credit score, would be eligible for this program. It's also providing free financial education in partnership with Operation Hope. So we worked with Operation Hope to develop a small business entrepreneurship web-based training that basically takes you from I want to bake cakes in my home to I want to sell cakes. So start your business from start to finish, how you think about marketing, how you develop your business plan, how you build out a pro forma financial statement. And then ultimately at the end of walking through this process, you will have a business plan you can take and present to a bank for financing, or you can take it to a community organization with at least something on paper to help them help you walk through what are your next steps. And then also it will provide a no service fee checking account. Of course, it has the 24-hour grace features I discussed earlier. And then it has longer repayment terms. So it's not this is not a short-term fix. There's 7-10 year terms as part of this loan. And then, as I said earlier, we've continued to develop programs that we feel will help us address issues with the appraisal gap. And in that, we partnered as part of the mayor's initiative on the Cleveland High LTV initiative. So right now it's in partnership with Fannie Mae. It's approved for a 97% first and a community second up to 125% CLTV. Now that comes with special education that talks to the customer about what that means to take an high LTV loan. There's also a backstop when it comes to these loans. So if something should happen, there is some funding that would help if the person would end up underwater on their mortgage should they need to move or refinance their loan. So at this point, there are 2 homes that are being completed as of this month, and then they'll be ready to be offered for purchase. So again, as I was saying earlier, this really is an opportunity for us to try to pilot some initiatives to figure out how do we tackle that appraisal gap and the lower recovery rate we've had when it comes to housing values in the Midwest. We've also continued with some matching savings down payment grants that are partnered up with the Huntington's Hub, which is a way to take your budget and actually automate it as part of your checking account. We've updated our community access mortgage Rehab. So community access mortgage is Huntington's portfolio product, which again allows credit scores down to 580. It has no PMI, and there are no closing costs. So we increased that Rehab amount from 25 to 50K. Again, this comes from the conversations with the community. $50,000 is not enough to purchase a home that is in need of extensive rehab. And so that is what we've been seeing in some of the areas where we have the appraisal gaps. There really is a need for extensive modification to the home, and the $25,000 was not making it feasible to do everything that needed to be done. So we did increase that to 50. And then lastly, we also still have our Lmi Borrower Promotion where we're paying the lender closing costs without increasing the interest rate. So it's still market interest rate, but we will pay the closing costs. So that way it hopefully helps borrowers be able to come to the table without as much cash as they typically would have to. So with that, I'll stop there and stop sharing.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the information. And we will be coming back because I have some questions. But right now we're going to go to Amanda at KeyBank. And Amanda, if you're ready to share, we're ready to hear you.
I believe Catherine's going to bring up my slides for me.
Okay. There you go.
Thank you. Okay. Good morning again, everybody. Happy to be presenting to you today. I'll just dive right into our executive summary about our community benefits plan. Our 5-year, $16.5 billion community benefits plan is delivering community development, affordable housing, philanthropy, mortgages, and small business lending to underserved communities across our footprint from Maine to Alaska. As of June 30th, we deployed $15.2 billion in aggregate commitments, which is 56% above our plan to date target. And we are on track to achieve an aggregate targets by year-end 2020. We're proud of our progress to date, and the table you see on the slide illustrates our plan to date production nationally, our plan to date percent to target, and the third column is the performance here in Cuyahoga County. As you can see, we're well above target, and we have significant investment in our county proper. Some national highlights are the Paycheck Protection Program proactive initiatives. Our corporate responsibility officers solicited more than 120 applications, and nonprofits, community partners, minority and women-owned businesses, and businesses that are located in LMI communities. Of that $8 billion in PPP loans, 25% of them were to support businesses located in LMI communities. The community benefits plan eligible PPP loans totaled $917 million. And it's important to note that that does not include PPP loans over $1 million. Additionally, another highlight of the what we do nationally is we deployed a 3-phase philanthropic approach to address immediate and long-term needs for COVID-19 support, with $18 million of planned investments in 2020. Additionally, we have invested $1 million in philanthropic investments to address social justice and racial equity issues. Locally, since the community benefits plan has launched, KeyBank has delivered nearly $500 million of investments in Cleveland. Our annual investment levels in Cuyahoga County are projected to triple by year-end 2020 compared to the pre-community benefits plan investment levels. And since May 2020, KeyBank Foundation has provided more than $548,000 in funding for COVID-19 relief and social justice and racial equity issues. Additionally, we're launching an initiative for our low to moderate income branches. We created a process and a playbook to help strengthen community engagement and drive business. It includes representatives from the target CRA and CBP lines of business. And we're currently running the pilot program in the Buckeye Plaza branch in the Buckeye neighborhood. And we intend to
Okay, have we hit a glitch?
It appears that Amanda's internet is possibly out.
Okay. Okay.
I think we maybe should hold on a second to see if it resolves itself.
Sure.
I get that with my Spectrum cable all the time.
Well, welcome, Councilman. It's good to see you.
I think you're coming back on.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I'm also going to say welcome to the Mayor Blackwell, Mayor from Maple Heights. Oh, okay. Good to have you.
Hi there. Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can now, Amanda.
This is Irma, actually. I'm Amanda's colleague, and I was going to be part of the presentation to cover the mortgage products and programs. So I'm happy to take over if that works.
I'm trying to reach Amanda, but I mean, assuming her internet is out, I don't know if there's a lot we can do. Would you like me to pull up Amanda's presentation again?
Yes, please, and then go to slide 3, because we were done with slide 2 there.
Okay.
Thank you, Irma, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see here, make sure that I have the right. Okay. So next slide, please. All right, thank you so much. So since the inception of our community benefits plan, our average annual investment has been 2.5 times pre-community benefits plan level. So in 2020, investments are expected to reach at least 3 times pre-community benefits plan level. And you'll see in the line graph over to the top right that it depicts community benefit plan volume indexed back to 2016. The bar graph on the bottom is broken out by half year, and the tallest bars are the community development plan and small business lending. So you'll see that the small business bar includes 55 million in the CRA reportable PPP plan, which is also known as the Paycheck Protection Program lending. And it's important to note that loans over $1 million are not included here, as Amanda had mentioned earlier. So prior to the acquisition of the First Niagara, we were outsourcing our mortgage business with about $7 million in revenue, and we brought the mortgage business in-house in 2017 when we acquired First Niagara and also acquired its servicing platform. The bank originated $14 million in low to moderate home purchase and refinance loans, and in 2018, our production was $26 million. Then it hit a high in 2019 at $40 million, and then through October of 2020, we've done $37 million in low to moderate production. So some of the things I'd like to again highlight for you. So 2016 we did $7 million, 2017 14, 2018 $26 million, and then 2019 $40 million, and then through October $37 million. Next slide, please. Okay. The community development lending and investment team works closely with housing developers and provides financing solutions, including tax credit, equity, and debt. In 2016, the community development lending and investments originated $24 million in community development loans in Cleveland, and it grew to $34 million in the first year of the community benefits plan. And in 2018, they had an extraordinarily strong year and originated $94 million. So overall, we've invested $200 million in community development projects over the duration of our community benefits plan in NEO. And some of these projects included in the development Cleveland East Side neighborhoods of Glenville, Kinsman, and Buckeye, as you see here on our screen. And next slide, please. So now I'd like to share some of our affordable lending products that we offer here at KeyBank. So I'd like to begin with our portfolio product, which is 100% financing, up to 100% financing for single-family homes, and then 95% financing for 2 units. The nice thing about this is it does not require PMI, and it is a CRA-specific loan, so it's very targeted towards our low to moderate borrowers and low to moderate communities. There is no minimum loan size, and that's something that we've enhanced in order to meet the needs of our loans that are below the $50,000, as we had mentioned or was talked about earlier. This also allows for gifts from family in a community second, going up to a loan to value of 105%. So again, a portfolio product that is definitely geared towards helping the lower loan sizes with a target with a low to moderate borrower and our communities. Next, moving on to our Fannie Mae Home Ready program. This does require 3% down, 97 LTV. Again, does allow for a community second to go up to 105 loan to value or combined loan to value. It is also CRA specific, so there is some income qualifications. And it does allow for grants. This is specific as well for purchases and refinance, as I had mentioned, for our key communities. And then in federal housing, the next one would be our FHA federal housing, which is government insured, as well as with our VA program. So FHA is a 3.5% down. The nice thing about this is a borrower can buy a home from 1 to 4 units. So it would be single family, condo, or to 1 to 4 units. And you could either purchase or refinance with this product as well. It does allow for a cash out refinance that would go up to about 85% loan value, which is above the conventional loan threshold. Then you have our Veterans Administration, which is our VA program. And again, 100% financing here to help our veterans that have served our country, and also allows for 1 to 4 units on purchasing or refinancing as well. Can you move to the next slide, please? All right. So I'd like to also share our Cleveland-based partnerships and programs that KeyBank participates in, beginning with our partnership with Home Repair Resource Center through the Challenge Fund Loan Program. It guarantees and provides access to funding to homeowners in the Cleveland Heights area. It allows for repairs, and they may qualify for a monthly payment. However, they may not meet the qualifications of a conventional bank or product. So this is where this program works really well. There is no income restriction, and the interest rate is typically 3% below the normal bank rate for the home repairs and remodeling projects. The next one that we do partner up with as well is Cuyahoga County through two of their programs, which one is the Housing Enhancement Loan Program, also known as HELP. It also provides homeowners they either live in their home, or if they have investment properties who are eligible in the Cuyahoga County to do improvements in their homes, and that is typically 3% below the bank rate as well. And there is no income restriction for the borrowers and few limitations on what the improvements can be and what can be made to properties. The next one is our Heritage Loan Program. It, again, is partnering up with Cuyahoga County, and it also partners up with the Cleveland Restoration Society. Offers low interest rates that provide funds needed to modernize and make energy efficient improvements. The Heritage Program is available to access loans, and they also offer free technical assistance for home repair, maintenance, and rehab. And then lastly, our partnership with CHN Housing Partners. We have worked with them on the low-income housing credits, which is LIHTC, and most recently in the Legacy Project in the Buckeye neighborhood. KeyBank has been CHN's leading debt and equity provider for the past 13 years. And lastly, with the KeyBank Foundation, we have supported the Family Success Program, which over time has helped create hundreds of low-income homeowners. Next one, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Irma. I'm back.
Okay, so we're at page 7, Amanda.
Sorry about that. Gotta love
No
technology in times of COVID. I apologize to everybody. Thank you, Irma.
You're welcome.
So in regards, thank you. In regards to philanthropy, supporting areas of workforce development, education, and creating safe and stable communities are what we call neighbors, are the foundation's strategic pillars. On this slide, we've highlighted examples of substantial philanthropic investments in low to moderate income communities, specifically in the Cleveland area. Since the creation of the Community Benefits Plan, we've invested more than $55 million in Northeast Ohio. And a good example of this kind of investment, it would be our grant to Edwin's Leadership and Restaurant Institute. With the $300,000 investment, Edwin's has been able to expand its culinary training program for the returning citizen population, and has also added a butcher shop and training program, and also a bakery, bringing access to fresh food and spurring economic growth and job creation in the Buckeye neighborhood. With the final phase of this grant, they are now creating stable housing for their alumni of their programs. Next slide, please. So we continue to be focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is fundamental to who we are as a company. But despite our recognition, we know the need for community investment is tremendous, especially given the economic uncertainty during the COVID-19 pandemic. We very much want to be a part of the solution. We want to find like-minded partners who are also looking for opportunities to make an impact and connect with those people in our communities. Thank you for allowing Irma and I time to share our Community Benefits Plan results.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that information that we certainly would need to know. We're now going to go into our question and answer period. I'm going to change it around a little bit because I see that there is a healthy area of discussion and question going on in that chat room. And so we certainly want to get to those questions. So these questions that I will be asking each of you to respond to. if it pertains to you, of course, because some have already identified that they do work with loans that are below the $50,000 level. But they're going to be broken up into, I think, roughly 5 different groups. And the first one is going to be questions pertaining to lending to low and moderate income areas. And certainly we want to know, is your bank offering low dollar loans? Those are the loans below $50,000. Is your bank waiving low transaction fees? And are loan officers making low dollar home purchase loans being compensated as though the loans were at least $100,000? So again, first of all, are you even making $50,000 loans or below? Is the bank waiving the loan transaction fees? And are loan officers making low dollar home purchase loans being compensated as though those loans were at least $100,000? Because we find that does make a big difference. So, okay, who wants to start, or do you want me to just start picking on you? Okay, Stacy.
I can start.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. We have a volunteer.
So to answer your first question, yes, we do have our key community mortgage that I'm sure while I was trying to get back into this call, Irma talked about that we do not have a minimum loan amount for the key community mortgage products. So yes, we do offer low dollar loan products. And your second question to waiving loan transaction fees, we do not waive loan transaction fees, but KeyBank charges a uniform loan application fee across our footprint. However, starting on November 15th, we will be providing our home ready mortgage applicants with $1,000 credit towards closing costs. The Home Ready is a CRE specific Fannie Mae product geared towards first time home buyers. And then finally, your last question, yes, our loan officers are compensated the same way, regardless of the amount of the loan. Their compensation is based on units and or volume, not just dollar amounts.
Okay, thank you very much. And now let's go to Stacy. Stacy, are you here?
Well, if Stacy can't jump in, I don't know if she's still having her internet problems.
Okay, well, let's go to you, Royce.
Yeah, okay,
you know how it's done.
Right. You know, in cyberspace, you can't have gaps in time. So yeah, the idea of the loans for below $50,000, yes, we don't have a minimum loan amount necessarily, but obviously there is a level where it is not practical, but we don't have a minimum loan amount on loans, and we've got no less than 4 different products that we make available for low to moderate income families who are seeking home purchase, depending on their situation. So sitting down with a mortgage loan officer and figuring out what the right product is, the best product is the approach that we take. We also, on the waiving of fees, we don't waive fees. We got a standard fee structure that we have set up. However, we do have, as I mentioned earlier, a down payment assistance program that we've increased to $6,500 that can be used in partnership with any other down payment assistance programs across the marketplace as well. And our officers, our loan officers, we've got our conventional loan officers, then we also have loan officers that are focused on the low to moderate income market. Compensation is a little bit different between the two, but for those that are focused on the low to moderate income market, there is a base plus commission with those positions. And by the way, we're actually we have an opening in case we got folks out there who are looking for job opportunities in that regard on the home mortgage side. So we're looking for those who are specialized in the low to moderate income market.
Okay, thank you. Stacy, I see you. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Okay.
Yes. It's that darn mute button, right? It never wants to come off when you need it to. So yes, Huntington offers below $50,000 mortgages, whether it is a first mortgage or a second mortgage, obviously. We are, and when you say loan transaction fees, I'm assuming you mean origination fees or costs. So we are waiving lender closing costs for low to moderate income borrowers and in low to moderate income census tracts. And then our loan officers, they are structured similar to Key on a unit and volume plan and not necessarily based on loan size, but we also offer a minimum compensation regardless of the loan balance or the loan advance. So I think it's kind of a combination of both, but we don't penalize someone for making a mortgage of less than 100,000.
Thank you. The second area that I'm going to talk about is just your bank branches. First, do you have a loan officer at each branch, particularly in the underserved areas? And do you have plans to close any branches? And if so, where? Okay. Stacy, why don't we just stay with you? That way you don't have to do anything to your mute.
Thank goodness. Well, I wasn't going to touch it again, actually. When it comes to our loan officers, all of our branch managers and our personal bankers can sell any of our mortgage products or equity products or our small business products. So when you walk into a branch, there's at least one person, if not two people, that can serve as a loan officer in whatever capacity you're coming into the branch for. And we do have a couple of closures in Cleveland that have been announced, but none are in the city of Cleveland specifically. And they're all short distance relocation, short distance consolidations, as with the ones we've done in the past.
Okay, so you said not in Cleveland, do you mean Cleveland and the inner suburbs, or are you just talking about Cleveland?
Not the city of Cleveland proper. But we do have one that's right outside the city of Cleveland. But again, it is very close to the location it's consolidating into.
Okay. And obviously you're not prepared to say that name yet. Is that it?
No, I believe they've been announced. It's just escaping me at the moment. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Amanda, you want to jump in?
Sure.
Okay.
In regards to the loan officers at each branch, we have loan officers that are assigned to a designated geographic area. And we also have dedicated loan officers who serve branches in low to moderate income communities specifically. So as I was referring to the branch initiative in my presentation, we have representation from our mortgage team and our CDLO to make sure that we're trying to intentionally focus on seeking out partners that can help us generate a larger pipeline for this particular group. In terms of closing branches, like most banks, KeyBank continues to evaluate how we deliver our services to customers, and that includes branch locations, but especially in light of recent consumer behavior changes brought on by COVID-19, we have to look at how we allocate the resources to best serve our clients. We've seen an uptrend in our digital banking usage, and it's been doubled, and since COVID, it's been tripled. So there's many people who, of course, with quarantine and COVID-19, who have really turned to digital banking, and we definitely have a focus on trying to ramp up our digital banking as well.
Thank you. Royce? Royce, are you there? Are you?
Okay, yeah, now
playing with the mute button?
Yeah.
Okay.
I should have left it on. Yeah. Yeah, so you know, to the point that was just made, I think we've all seen just the progression and how the behaviors of consumers have changed in terms of how they interact with bank staff, but also bank locations. Does that mean that our banking structure has changed? Absolutely, we've changed to go along with the trends in the marketplace. So when we think about this idea of loan officers in each branch, we work on more of like a hub and spoke approach where an officer may cover more than one branch, depending on the size and the volume of those locations. So the idea of ensuring that we're readily available. So if someone comes into one of our banking centers and is seeking information about a home mortgage, our staff on site there is prepared to give them information, and we set appointments for them, especially during this COVID period. We have people more often who are calling into our branches, and who are feeling a little bit more comfortable necessarily, they're not feeling as comfortable necessarily working one-on-one. So the virtual opportunity and option has been something that we've seen an increased growth in working through that way. But we are very much available to meet in person with those that we sit down with. The other part of it too is especially when you talk about the low to moderate income customer, and they may come in a variety of, they may be inclined to come into a branch. They may be inclined to meet with one of our community partners. They may spend their time working with maybe an organization that they've gone through credit repair work with. So what we have is we have our officers very much involved with the community organizations where those points of contact may be. So we're not necessarily confined to meeting at a branch location. We'll sit down and meet with individuals at their nonprofit organization of choice. We're also very much involved with providing home buyer workshops in those nonprofits. So another way in which we can reach and touch those clients and those customers in that manner. So when we talk about your question related to branch closings, that's an evolving process. We don't have anything necessarily on the table to report that's different than on the branch closing side or opening side.
Okay, well, we're going to stay with you, Royce. That way you don't have to do anything to your mute button.
Okay.
As you talk about home repair, is your bank participating in a loan guarantee program or programs by supporting loan loss reserves, serving primarily in low, moderate income borrowers?
We are
And is your bank participating in low interest home repair programs where interest rates are reduced by county funds placed on deposit at the bank?
We are not participating in a loan guarantee program on the home repair side, and the low interest. We've been working very closely with several organizations under the Mayor's Initiative to address the areas around home repair, but we don't have a specific product targeted to that area. As you probably saw earlier on the information that was shared from Frank, that's not necessarily an area where there's been a high degree of volume, but not necessarily we don't do it. It's just not an area where we see as great a volume. We tend to see the home equity portion. It tend to be an area where customers are using that as an avenue for home repairs.
Okay, okay. Well, then we'll go with Stacy. Why not? Stacy,
yes, I am. I'm still here. My voice isn't, but I am.
I know you're struggling, but you're doing well.
Thank you. So when it comes to the home repair piece, there's a couple different things. We do offer the 30-year portfolio product, right, that has the $50,000 in home repair. So that is no MI, it's market rate, and the credit scores go down to 580 if it's in partnership with a nonprofit, with an LTV of 97.5%. We also offer our unsecured home improvement loan. So the unsecured home improvement loan is offered at 2.99%. So again, that really helps in the markets where the housing values have not increased to the point where there's equity in the homes. So we tend to use that product an awful lot in conjunction with nonprofits to make certain that people who live in a home but don't have equity are still able to make the improvements that they need to. So usually as we evaluate customers when they walk in the door, if our loan program is at market rate, doesn't fit the bill on the secured side, then we will look to that unsecured product instead. We do also work with the other programs that are in Cleveland, so help and heat as well.
Okay, thank you. Amanda?
My turn?
Yes.
In regards to the loan guarantee programs, we do participate in the Home Repair Resource Center Challenge Fund loan that Irma talked about in her presentation. We are in discussions now, though, also with Cleveland Housing Network and Cuyahoga County about participating in a program that would support loan loss reserves primarily for low to moderate income borrowers. And in terms of the low interest home repair, KeyBank partners again with the Home Repair Resource Center Challenge Fund Loan, which guarantees bank loans for homeowners who did not qualify under normal criteria. These loans are funded by KeyBank. We also participate in the Cuyahoga County's HELP program, which provides low interest loans for home improvement to both owner-occupied and non-owner-occupied homes.
Thank you. Sally Martin is the housing director for the city of South Euclid. And Sally, I am seeing so many people in the chat room that have questions and want to discuss. Would it be possible for you to maybe pull some of those questions now, and I can come back later if time permits as we talk about the purchase rehab loan or the flexible underwriting? Sally?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the introduction, Barbara. There are a number of questions in the chat, so I'm going to start with a question related to credit as a factor impacting loans on the east side and east entering suburbs. Can the banks address what role poor credit and the need for credit counseling play in the origination of those loans?
All of you don't have to answer it once.
Well, you know, I think that we all realize that when you think about the idea of reaching out to underserved populations, that credit is a area and a topic that comes top to mind very quickly. So that's primarily the reason why we spend a great deal of time partnering with organizations and working on specific initiatives that address this issue. We could literally do a credit workshop probably every week to really work on this issue. So, you know, credit is an issue. Information about the process is also a challenge for families who've never gone through the home purchase process before. The idea of inventory still continues, as we see, as an issue in the market. Finding a home, you know, you've gone through the qualification process. Now finding a home in the area that you like within your price range, that's in the condition that you want it, that's quite a challenge to work through that process. So those are probably three things that really come to mind as we think about how to address, how to work through, and how to build more homeowners in the market. Is working with them personally, also working on things related to the market, and then just helping clients and the community to understand that that it still is possible to achieve the American dream.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else want to respond, or should we go to our next question? Okay, let's go to the next question. Sally.
Okay, along those same lines, we had a question in the chat. Based on Frank's data, how do you explain the very low volume of mortgages on the east side of Cleveland?
So I can take a stab at that one. I think just, you know, leveraging off of what Roy said, we're still seeing, you know, the three different issues, right? There's mainly when it comes to the east side, you have the appraisal gap issue, right? And so making certain that we can identify homes that are available for reasonable rehab, and then making certain that we have products that can address that are vitally important. And then once you get past that piece of it, then you need to look at what are some of the credit issues that people are still having and how do we best address those. I think that's between those two pieces, the high LTV and the value of homes versus the cost to purchase and rehab is still a huge constraint, which is why it's been a focus of ours trying to find that secret sauce that will help people purchase a home that also needs extensive rehabilitation. So that would be my first pass at an answer.
I agree with Stacy. And back to the credit building piece that she brought up, it's vitally important that we continue to focus on making sure that we are focusing on our financial wellness, education, inclusion initiatives. And And part of what Key does, we have some products that we have for credit building. There's a secured credit card, which you can build your credit score with, and also some loan assist products that can help clients build credit.
You know, I think even if I could add just one more piece to that, you know, the idea of a family deciding that they want to be in a specific neighborhood. There are a variety of reasons why people locate where they want to locate, but be that as it may, they make that choice because that's where they want to be. And in some cases, when we think of people who are in neighborhoods now, and they want to stay in that neighborhood, aging in place, so to speak, being able to live out in it. The home repair issue is a significant issue. So that's why we spent a great deal of time, you know, working with a number of organizations, CMHA included, to really address this idea of, if I've chosen to locate in a neighborhood and I want to stay there, but I am having difficulty with being able to afford the repairs that are going to be needed to keep my home in a reasonable place, that's a real issue.
Okay, thank you.
Another question along those same lines is related to COVID-19 and the disparate impact among Black and Hispanic populations. These populations are finding the need for significant home repairs, as we've discussed before, such as keeping the home safe and dry, roof repairs, replacements, and furnace replacements. Do you think the policies that are currently in place at your bank are sufficient to respond, or are changes being made to address what's going on with COVID-19 and how this is affecting disproportionately these communities?
So I'll start again. I would go back to the two products that we've developed. And I know it only sounds like two products, but it's because we feel, based on community input, that those are the right ones for us to have. I think it's important to make certain that there are opportunities for either a secured version of a home improvement loan or an unsecured version. And really, the unsecured version came about for Huntington because of the community feedback, that there are situations where, you know, we haven't had the recovery in housing prices. We have needed repairs. So often we'll do that in conjunction with the city. So if the city is offering a program where, you know, part of the money can cover, from CDBG, can cover maybe the roof repair, but it still will not be a livable home because it's missing a furnace or it's missing some other important piece. And really that would make the home not eligible for CDBG. We will step in with that unsecured home improvement loan, and it has a longer term, so it makes it affordable. And part of what made us go that route with the longer term is because we heard resoundingly that seniors want to age in place. And with having a restricted income, it was important to make certain they had an affordable payment at the same time. So I think, you know, barring having those two products, if there's other issues with a particular community, I think it's important for us to address them and learn about them, right? And then we can build something different or figure out what's the right answer. So I think part of it is product and ensuring you have products that address the community's needs.
I also think, oh, go ahead, Royce.
Go ahead. You know, I would say, you know, any one of us who are on this panel here, if we don't want to give you the impression that we've got this COVID-19 issue figured out, because it is a ever evolving concern that we have on all fronts. Economic issues, housing issues, education issues, safety issues are all a part of just a part of this the issues that we're facing. But I think what we are committed to doing is continuing to listen to ideas. Yes, we've got here at Fifth Third Bank, we've got great products on the home purchase side, home improvement side, great products, but is a product all totally what a person needs right now when they are experiencing job loss? Is a product what they need when they're experiencing, you know, how to deal with how to keep their kids up to par when they're taking their lessons virtually. So those issues are very real issues. But I think what we're seeing here with this COVID impact situation is on the small business side in low to moderate income communities, that there is a real issue in terms of the sustainability. The numbers out of the National African American Chamber indicated that there could be as much as a 40% loss of African American businesses across the nation as a result of COVID. So we put a great deal of effort to really helping to sustain African American small businesses across our footprint and putting the investments in the products. So we did right at 80,000 PPP loans, but did a specific outreach to low to moderate income neighborhoods and African American owned businesses to help that sustaining process. But like I said, when you talk about COVID, this is a pretty large issue, and we're still learning and listening, not necessarily on the sidelines. We're very much out there, but it is definitely an evolving process of how we can meet needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just add that communication and access and community partnerships are vital to this entire thing. There's a huge digital divide in the low to moderate income communities that I feel like our city is on the verge of addressing. But a lot of times people of color may not, in low to moderate income communities specifically, may not know what products and services are available. So the more we can partner with community development corporations and nonprofit wraparound service providers to make sure that they're aware so that they can have all of their needs addressed, whether it's a leaky roof and a furnace.
Go ahead, Julie.
No, go ahead.
All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I think we just had someone unmute, but
Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
Sorry. As a specific example to home lending, we're exploring opportunities to support lead remediation and low-cost lending to remediate lead issues here in Cleveland and across our footprint. Underlying conditions are huge issues exploited by COVID, so we're working to understand the variety of ways that we can help.
Okay.
And if I may add, so I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself earlier. So I'm the National Director of Community Development for Home Lending here at KeyBank. So I work with our home lending team to strategize, make sure that we are taking care of the needs of housing needs of our low to moderate borrowers, as well as our low to moderate communities. But I also want to add, this is an opportunity to add here, especially with COVID and housing. So right now there are some funds out there that have been distributed to our nonprofits known as the CARE Act funds. And if you are aware of anyone that may have problems making their payments or have had, please do refer them over to their local bank or the bank that they're making their mortgage payment to, because those funds are there. And I want to stress to the nonprofits, again, the collaboration that we need to have here in order to continue to serve our community, to please, look into that if you have not had an opportunity, because those funds will be gone. And once they're gone on December 31st, we can't access those any longer. Thank you.
And that date was December 31st. Let me just get clear on that date. You said once they're gone.
Yes, they're federal funds, and the federal government stated that funds need to be used up by December 31st of this year.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And then on the small business front too, we're partnering with the Village Capital to bring small business supports in the form of loans and grants. So again, the ability to respond quickly to a number of these programs is extremely important.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Sally, I still see those questions coming in. So
they are rolling in.
Yes, they are.
We had two questioners ask something similar, so I will phrase it as one question. And that is, what ways are you getting the word out about lending opportunities with your bank to people in Cleveland, especially the Lmi borrower? And then do your loan officers act as advocates to get people approved for loans, or do they simply process the paperwork?
Sally, I hate to ask this, but I missed the very first part of that question. My computer blinked out right then. So I caught the last part about being advocates.
The question was, what are you doing? What are your strategies for getting the word out about lending opportunities at your bank, especially to lower moderate income individuals in the city of Cleveland?
So I'll jump in. For us, it's the partnership with our nonprofits. So in Cleveland, we have Rashonda Smith, who is, our key contact for everything happening in the Cleveland area. And so she works with our key partners or our nonprofit partners to identify, one, do they understand our programs and products? If they don't, then we bring in our partners inside our bank, so our mortgage loan regional managers, et cetera, to walk each of the nonprofits through the various programs and products that we have. So hopefully they can identify when someone's, comes in with an issue, what the right program or product might be from at least a Huntington perspective. And then I think it's back to the listening piece, trying to understand what's the best way to communicate and to make certain that people, we're using the right outlets to get that information out. Mortgage lending is very complicated. So what I like to try to balance is, if you show the wow factor, then immediately people distrust it and wonder, okay, what's the catch? So because they're so complicated, it's really hard to find a really concise way other than through a partner who really understands the programs and products and to be able to explain them. But we're always looking for new and innovative ideas and ways to communicate, program and product features.
Yeah, the idea of reaching the low to moderate income market is different than the conventional market. We have team members who are specifically, mortgage loan officers who are specifically targeted toward serving that market. But these are individuals who are also very much involved with nonprofit organizations in our community, whether we're talking about Ohio Guidestone, CMHA, or CNA partnership. So just a number of different organizations, and the list is pretty long. But the idea is not assuming that the financial center or the branch is going to be the first point of contact, but opening up conversations in a number of different ways. I mean, we're going to do a virtual home ownership workshop even tomorrow at 12 noon. It's statewide, Ohio. But the idea, again, is reaching people and using a number of different formats and programs. And so we'll walk participants through every step of the way how to actually become a homeowner. And we're finding that people are actually using and reaching out with these virtual homeownership workshops that we're doing, being very, very conscientious that for those that are going through it through the first time, it takes an awful bold leap of faith to make that move. But you have to be creative in this space to be able to act, to be successful in reaching low to moderate income borrowers.
I would say, in addition to our loan officers, we have my role, the corporate responsibility officer, that can help get the word out about our products and services. We work closely also with our low to moderate income branches. And again, as I said before, our community partners and the CDCs, because it's been a huge challenge with COVID-19, again, because we can't come to the block club meetings. We can't see these people in person for the home buyer workshops. So, and because of the digital divide, we can't necessarily reach everybody that we want to reach through the computer to go through the very complicated process. So I think we're all just trying to figure it out too, from a marketing and a communications perspective.
Barbara, one more thing I might add to, and great point that was just touched upon there. What we have found through COVID is that there are some nonprofit organizations that when COVID first hit, they were really struggling with the technology piece, being able to reach their clients, being able to provide information, being able to reach out to them and to service at the level that they had before. So we created a COVID relief fund at $4.5 million that we invested all throughout all of our markets throughout the footprint, with the idea of helping with technology, helping with supports, helping with with the idea of helping them to move through the process of supporting through that very difficult period of time. But we still see that there are challenges when you talk about the digital divide in low to moderate income communities and being able to connect. It's definitely a different world for us.
Oh yes, a different world for all of us. Sally, I see quite a few questions about LLCs and bulk buying. Okay, I'll let you address that.
That was going to be my next question.
Thank you. Of course.
There are a number of community development practitioners who are here today who have expressed a concern about LLC buyers saturating their neighborhoods. In fact, Jamie in Old Brooklyn says that 60% of the sales in that neighborhood are going to bulk buyers. And she routinely sees block groups with 40% or more of bulk buying. So this is a major concern that LLCs are buying up housing that is then no longer available for homeownership. Are you concerned about this trend, and what do you think your bank can do about it?
You know, I think we've seen these trends happen in a number of markets, but over a span of time, there's always speculative buyers who are seeking new windows of opportunity, whether you call it gentrification, whether you call it block busting, you know, whatever term you may put on the effect. The impact is that you have a threefold impact. You have those who are already in the neighborhood who now their homes are not at the same level from an improvement standpoint as those who may have come in and purchased. You've got those who are then forced out of the neighborhood because they can no longer afford the property taxes in those neighborhoods as the increases have occurred. So there's a number of issues there. I think the best things that we can begin to do is continue to work with our neighborhood-based organizations and continue to support them and help them to structure and position them where they can acquire the homes in those neighborhoods on a larger scale basis.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Royce, because here we had, to Stacy's point earlier, we all were working together. So Fifth Third, KeyBank, and Huntington, right, on the Cleveland High Initiative program, and that could be a template. Fannie Mae is going to sunset that program at the end of the year, but that could play as a template where we all collaborate and look at these different neighborhoods that are, let's say, targeted by these LLC, right, and home builders, and see if we can't help them, as well as then making it available for our low to moderate borrowers in buying those homes rather than, you know, gentrifying it.
Okay, Stacy, who was that was trying to say something or was trying to add to the conversation? Okay, maybe I was just some background noise.
You know, something we also can work together on as well as something like this is the ability to prepare and train minority contractors to get back into the home building, the contracting business, to become developers in communities of choice. So the idea of looking across the spectrum right now, there's been discussions about those kinds of initiatives where you are equipping more developers who can create the right products that are affordable, are the types of things right now that are extremely important that we take a look at how we can build strength in that area.
There was a question from one individual about the high poverty rate in Cleveland and the need for affordable housing, especially with individuals of very low income. You know, for instance, an individual at $13,000 or less, or families with $20,000 or less. Are there efforts being made, such as with LIHTC developments, that are addressing this aspect of the population?
Okay.
Well, I don't think LIHTC development has stopped, right? So as long as there's a need, there's hopefully always developers that are looking into providing some type of affordable housing for low income. And I was just looking at some of the numbers we just recently looked at for affordability, and it's the Cleveland MSA, so it might be a little bit off, and I could recalculate these numbers if someone would want me to. But just looking at someone who has a 5% down payment for the average home in the Cleveland MSA, that would require about $44,800 of annual income to cover that mortgage cost. And then if they have 20%, it would still require about $37,000. So I think we have to think about different tranches of housing. One is for very low income, then low income, and then moderate income, just to make certain that we can cover, the gamut of the needs. But there becomes a point where at a certain income level, it's not feasible to own a home. And then making certain that we have the appropriate affordable housing for that situation, I think is really important. So if there are gaps in particular markets, I know we would love to understand where those gaps are and also understand what the developers are doing in the LIHTC space for those areas.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me say thank you to each and every one of you for being here today, and certainly thank you to the panel. Did an excellent job. Today, as always, we want to share information that the community needs to know, that the organizations that assist in those different areas where there is so much need, that they have the information that they need to know in order to move forward. So as we prepare to transition to the next segment, we'll take a short break and then get ready for our next panelist. I just want to thank the Community Benefits Agreement panelists for sharing the information that we need to know. Thank each and every one of you, and we will see you again next year. And we look forward to hearing both the successes and the challenges and how they were overcome. See you next year. Stay with us if you can, okay?
Thank you, Barbara.
For having us.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.